2010 or 11 Nissan Rogue is manufactured 06 of 10. It's the two-wheel drive, 4-cylinder. This is going to be the same with the all-wheel drive as well. The AC doesn't change between all-wheel drive and the two-wheel drive. So this one has a leak, and instead of the customer having to spend a couple $100 more to be able to get an AC compressor and taking it to a shop probably being a couple thousand more, they brought it to me to fix. So I'll give you a quick walkthrough on what I've done so far. It's been about 20 minutes I've been working on this. Nothing really special is going on. The inner fender has to pull down here. There's a 10 millimeter coarse bolt up there. I think it's a number 14. This guy may or may not be the same on other vehicles. It has a bunch of push clips that go here. Maybe some there too. I don't really know how far back this goes. I think it actually goes on the top. So you pull those out. You go to the opposite side here and pull that bolt out as well. Grab the inner fender or the bumper cover here. Pull the clips out. The clip is, this is where the bolt holds on. This is a clip, 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 clip. Then there's two clips here that go under the light. As you can see those in this spot here. And then this is where the fender bracket is that holds the bumper on. First thing that I'm going to change, which I've already changed, is the seal that goes on here. This is the most finicky one that you could possibly do, simply because this bracket is made of aluminum. Those tubes are made of aluminum. So that sensor there is a 24 millimeter. 24 millimeter fits right on it perfectly, or it could be a 15/16. Those are comparable sizes, although they may not be exactly the same. When you go to break this sensor loose, it is best to pull tension on your wrench back towards the front of the car, because it's going to want to push this whole assembly to the back. So when you're pulling on it towards the front of the car, you want to break your torque. It spins right out of there. It uses a very tiny seal. In fact, this is the seal that it uses here, although this is not the smallest seal in the kit. There it is there. This is one of the universal kits that you can get from the local parts store. I say it's universal. It's universal to an extent. It is one that fits this vehicle, and this particular part number is MT2571. After I've plugged this right here back in, I have to fix this horn. Whoever put this horn on didn't do too good of a job. This is the ground lug, and you can see it doesn't stay on. When she starts it up, it disconnects. I have no idea what this is supposed to be. I think maybe they were supposed to be together. If I'm not mistaken, this is going to be the ground, and this of course is a ground because it grounds out to the frame. So I'll fix that wire there, and this one right here really has no purpose. After I put the bumper cover back on, actually before I put the bumper cover back on, I've already got this one right here off. This is the upper line, the suction line for the AC compressor, which after you get to the compressor, both of these are technically suction lines. They're both this same size, 5/8 or 1/2 inch line. This one's slightly smaller, but it's definitely not as small as the high side line. Anyways, I'll go down here, and inside of there, I should be able to come through right here to be able to gain access to that. I may take this right here loose to, I don't even know what you would call this. It's different names on different vehicles, but this particular one helps funnel air into the radiators. So I'll take this piece here loose, use a 10mm wrench, a gear wrench, to get into there and take that one off, because there's not really a lot of room down through there. Although you can see the line, it's very difficult to reach. These two are both 10mm as well. One is a normal bolt, the other one is a studded bolt. There's nothing that connects to the top of it, so I'm gonna have to use just a deep 10mm. And I have plenty of extension, so I can raise it to the moon if I wanted to. Use a 10mm deep socket on both, and the extension, break the torque, pull those lines out, change those seals. This seal here, which you can see, now I haven't taken the other ones off, otherwise you'd be able to see those as well. The seals are green, which means that they've been changed. So obviously somewhere along this line, they either pinched the line or pinched the O-ring, or didn't tighten something up good. Back there is your other two lines. That's behind the intake, or your other two seals. There's actually 4 seals back there. You take off the lines from the expansion valve, and then you take the expansion valve off. In my experience, the expansion valves are 30mm, sorry, not 30mm, T30s. After you take those off, you can worm the expansion valve out of the hole. It looks like maybe a 10mm stud on there as well. It's a little darkened out. That's just a 10mm bolt. Yeah, those are going to be fairly easy to get out. The hardest part is putting the expansion valve back in. There's a plate that's inside of there that likes to move around all over the place. If you pull it out easily, that plate usually stays in place due to corrosion. So when you get your T30 back off inside of there, after you take those these two lines off here, you ought to be able to break the torque on both of those and then spin the bolts out by hand. And as long as you worm up and down and not side to side and pull out at the same time, it'll come out, and that plate usually stays in place. If it doesn't, when going back together, you'll have to take one of the bolts, start it through the expansion valve, start it into that plate, and manipulate it slightly to be able to get the little nipples to go back on to the inside of the expansion valve. Then you can put the other bolt in. Let's see, what am I missing here? It's pretty much all. The kit doesn't come with new Schrader valves, although this one's not leaking anyways. You can get those at the parts store. This particular vehicle is 134A. It uses 1.1 pounds max. When pulling a vacuum on this, I've heard many parts people tell you, oh, you got to put PAG oil back in. No, you don't. The vacuum pump does not pull out the PAG oil. It only pulls out air. It doesn't pull out liquid, unless of course the liquid is pressurized, and then it will pull it out. I didn't disconnect the battery either, although you don't really have to, because you're not disconnecting any electrics that need power constantly. This sensor doesn't require power all the time, only when there's pressure behind it. The intake tube had to come off. There was 3 push clips. There's one here, one here, one here, and then it just clips in back here at the back. Also sits onto this tube here, so make sure to put all of this back together. You don't want an engine code, although I don't think you're going to have one since there is no electronics in this portion of it. If you left that off, that would be a different story, but you don't have to take that off in order to do this job. As I said, this is about 20 minutes in, just finding tools to be able to do it with and taking the parts off. Should take me about another hour to be completely finished with it.